Rasulullah ﷺ is teaching us something very powerful. Sometimes Muslims have arguments among each other. And sometimes things get ugly. And when they get ugly, your temper flares. And you want revenge, you want justice for what happened. Somebody has to pay. And when you're calling for justice and making your voice heard and you're raising your voice and you're gathering people around you, reminding them of what one Muslim has done against another Muslim, you are creating division in the name of justice. And you need to learn the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ when he says, you need to let this go and make this not a big deal. Because when you blow this out of proportion, the price will not just be paid. You're not just seeking justice, you're causing a lot of problems in your pursuit of justice. You're making way too much noise for something that can be handled much better, much more quietly, in a much more civil way, in a much less provocative way. Look, it was two people arguing with each other at a well. Something bad happened, fine, but it's two people. But in a split second, it's the entire group of the Muhajirun, it's the entire group of the Ansar. How quickly something small became something big. One can just, man, I lost my temper, sorry, I had a long day, I had a headache, I don't know what got into me, I apologize, I shouldn't have kicked you. Done. Finished. You don't have to make a bigger deal out of it. But there are those who would love to make a bigger deal out of it. There are those who capitalize. They hope that something small happens, a spark happens, and they can turn it into a forest fire. There are people who wait for that opportunity. And you have to want, that is a reality that will always exist. There will be people that will find the differences. There are people that are so sick in their minds. They'll listen to this sheikh, this imam, that imam, and then they'll know that they have a difference of opinion on some issue. And they'll purposely go, by the way, do you know what they say about this issue? They have a difference with you. And then because they want to see, they find it entertaining. They don't watch sports where people are boxing each other. They'd rather Islamic groups, scholars, imams, speakers, they argue with each other. They debate with each other. This is their sport. This is their entertainment. It's sick. That's sick. When this fight broke out, the Prophet ﷺ basically gave the advice to diffuse the situation. But there was another person on the other side, Ibn Ubay, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, la'anahullah, the head of the munafiqeen, who's obviously doesn't wear the label of munafiq. He's among the Muslims. He saw an opportunity. He called all the people of Medina that he could into his camp. His camp was further away from the Prophet's camp, ﷺ. Calls them, sits them down. هَذَا مَا فَعَلْتُمْ بِأَنفُسِكُمْ. Look at what you did to yourself. These people of Makkah, these immigrants came, they take our jobs, they take our money, they take our homes, we provide them everything, and look at how they treat us. This is what you get? See? All they wanted was your money. All they wanted was your welfare. I tell you, we are so dignified. These people are beggars. Because when somebody's a beggar, they're humiliated. When somebody gives, they're the dignified one. These people have no respect. We're the ones that have respect, and they can treat us this way? You know what they remind me of? كما قال الأول سمن كلبك يأكل. He gives a speech and he says, they remind me of the old Arab saying, when you give your dog until the dog gets fat and it bites you. He called the Muhajirun dogs. In his speech, in his camp, he did this. And he's doing this to capitalize, to build the emotion and the sentiment of the Ansar against the Muhajirin. And he swears, he says, the second we go back, guys, the moment we go back to Medina, لَيُخْرِجَنَّ الْأَعَزُّ مِنْهَا الْأَذَلُّ. We, the most dignified, should get rid of these humiliated people. Watch, stop spending on them. He swears to God, he says, if you just stop giving these people charity, watch them disappear, and they'll live on welfare somewhere else. لَا تُنْفِقُوا عَلَى مَنْ عِنْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى يَنْفَضُّوا. Don't spend on all these people around the messenger. Watch them disappear. They'll just disappear. Watch. They're only here for your money. And then they treat you like this. So he's giving this poisonous speech. See, on the one hand, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, let it go. End it. It's a disgusting, filthy word. Don't exaggerate it. And on the other hand, this guy is putting fuel into the fire. He wants to make the fire bigger and bigger. What he didn't know is there's a young boy sitting there, Zayd ibn Arqam. 10, 11 years old. He's sitting in the audience, listening to this entire poisonous speech. He runs over and tells his uncle what Abdullah ibn Ubay said. His uncle goes into the camp of the Prophet ﷺ, where Umar is sitting there too. And he says, this is what Abdullah ibn Ubay is saying. Who narrated it? This is 11-year-old Zayd. That's who narrated it. Now, what is the Prophet supposed to say? Well, we can't trust a child. Child could make anything up. How can we rely on it? No questioning. Zayd said it? No questioning. As a matter of fact, Umar sitting next to him said, I know a guy, Ammar. I want you to give me permission. I'll get Ammar. He'll walk into their camp, slowly walk up to Ibn Ubay ibn Salul, who's giving this speech, and slit his throat. Just give the word. I got this. I know just the guy for the job. Rasul says, La ya Umar. No, Umar. That's not what we're going to do. You know, because the people will say, Anna Muhammadan yaqtulu ashabahu. Muhammad kills his people. Before I go any further, why would Umar say kill him? Isn't that barbaric? Like Sharia law gets you to kill people? Understand what's happening here. They're a military. They went out as a military. And when inside a military, when they're actively on the battlefield, someone within the ranks of the army tries to create discord between the army, that is considered an act of espionage and an act of high treason, punishable by death because you're putting the entire army at risk. This is military protocol in every military in the world, from history until now. This is considered high treason. So when Umar says kill him, he's not saying some Islamic rule of killing him. He's saying that's how we deal with treason in the military. But Rasulullah says, no, we won't do that. We won't even do that. Even though they're well within their rights, if there was any other military that this happened in, nobody would even say anything. Nobody would say, that's what you do. But he doesn't. They call Ibn Ubay instead. Call him, let him explain himself. Because he doesn't know that the Prophet will hear it. But he heard it. So now Abdullah bin Ubay and his khulafa, they've come. They come inside the camp. The boy Zayd ibn Arqam is outside the camp. He has no idea what went on inside. He just told his uncle, remember? His uncle went in and talked to the Prophet ﷺ. The boy didn't go in. So Zayd, Abdullah bin Ubay goes inside, starts swearing at the top of his lungs. Wallahi, I swear to God, who made this lie against me? I believe you're the messenger of Allah. Why would I say something like that about you? Why would I say something like that about our brothers? I have given so much for Islam. I came to the battlefield, didn't I? How can you question me like this? Whose word are you taking over mine? When have I not proven myself? And he starts giving the Prophet a lecture. At the top of his lungs. And Rasulullah says, you can go. He doesn't want to hear any more nonsense. He says, you can. He doesn't argue with him. We're learning something else. There are going to be people who cause trouble, and when you question them, they get very loud. They get very loud. And when they get very loud, what's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? It's okay, you can go. Thank you. Some people are not worth talking to. They're just not worth talking to. That's the sunnah. Let him go. When he lets him go, Zayd ibn Arqam is outside. He sees this man leave, and he says, oh, wait. He's not in any trouble? I told on him, and he's still not in any trouble? So he says, أَصَابَنِي هَمٌّ لَمْ يُصِبْنِي قَطْ. A sadness took over me that had never hit me before. I was sad that day like I was never before in my life. So he says, صَدَّقَهُ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَكَذَّبَنِي. The Prophet thought that Ibn Ubay, the guy who was yelling and screaming, was telling the truth. And the Prophet didn't believe me because I'm just a kid. He didn't believe me. That's not the case. The case is actually the Prophet believed him right away, but he doesn't know that because he's on the outside. So he says, I went back to my tent and I just lied down crying. This boy just lied down and he's crying. The Prophet has no idea what this boy is feeling. We learn about that later. Then Allah revealed Surah Al-Munafiqun. I told you this khutbah is about Surah Al-Munafiqun. In Surah Al-Munafiqun, basically in 11 ayat, Allah Azza wa Jal quoted Zayd ibn Arqam. 2 ayat are quoting Zayd ibn Arqam word for word. Zayd came and told the Prophet ﷺ, or told his uncle who told the Prophet ﷺ, they said, لَإِن رَجَعْنَا إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ لَيُخْرِجَنَّ الْأَعَزُّ مِنْهَا الْأَذَلُ. Words of Abdullah bin Ubay. This is what he said. When we go back to Medina, the dignified ones will expel the humiliated ones. That's what he said. Quran comes and says, يَقُولُونَ لَإِن رَجَعْنَا إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ لَيُخْرِجَنَّ الْأَعَزُّ مِنْهَا الْأَذَلُ. وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Subhanallah. Word for word, the narration of Zayd is now part of Quran. He said, they said also, don't spend on the people around the Prophet until they disappear. لَا تُنْفِقُوا عَلَى مَنْ عِنْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى يَنْفَضُّوا. Ayah comes down. يقولون هم الذين يقولون لا تنفقوا على من عند رسول الله حتى ينفضوا. When the surah is revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, he calls for Zayd, who was crying by himself. He calls Zayd, sits him down, puts his hand on his knees, and says, لَقَدْ صَدَّقَكَ اللَّهُ. Allah proved that you're telling the truth. And he recited the entire surah to Zayd, the 11-year-old boy. Before anybody else heard the surah, Zayd heard the surah. This surah, it's like, it has so many purposes, this surah, but one of its core purposes was to, care for the sentiments of this child. This kid who spoke, subhanallah. There are lessons after lessons after lessons inside of this surah. And inside of this profound incident. Just these 11 ayat. But what I wanted to highlight to you as I close is this entire story, what binds it together is one theme. The softness of the heart. Believers are supposed to be brothers. We know that already. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. But it's very easy to destroy brotherhood. Very easy. It takes very little. And sometimes it doesn't even take bad words. It takes good words said in a bad way. This thing that Allah has given us, فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ, the love that He put between our hearts is very delicate. It has to be handled with a lot of care. Especially those that are serving in any capacity towards the deen. If you're volunteering, working at an Islamic organization, you're affiliated with a school or another, a masjid or another, then you have to be extra sensitive not to become a gang that speaks in any condescending way about anybody else. Extra careful about that. And that softness, then if you understand that, then you will understand the next layer of sensitivity, and that's towards children. That even children, we don't dismiss them. We don't think of them as a nuisance. They are a blessing of Allah. Can you imagine? Nowadays, when somebody's giving a lecture, there are children in the audience, we keep requesting, please, can you keep the kids quiet? Can you keep them in a separate, can you put some kind of barbed wire around them or something? Or can we have some kind of soundproof, bulletproof, oxygen-proof room where we can, keep these kids? Or if there's a kid in the audience, even the speaker, the scholar, the sheikh, they're not concerned. They're concerned if the adults understand. They're only concerned if the kid doesn't make noise. That's all they're concerned about. And this entire event, it hinges on the contribution of this boy Zayd. On this boy. Don't dismiss the contribution of our children, the value of our children. Don't underestimate bringing them to the masjid and listening to the khutbah next to you. When you bring your kids, sit with them. Sit with them. Don't have them wander off on their own. Sit with them. Teach them the adab of sitting in the masjid. Listening. When you go to a dars, take your kids with you. It's okay, they'll be bored one or two times, but some of this stuff will stick in their head, and 15 years later, it'll save their life. You don't know what will stick and what won't stick. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us soft towards one another and clean in our intentions towards one another. May Allah Azza wa Jal not make us of those who forget that the real contribution to our deen is with sincerity to Allah Azza wa Jal. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayat wa dhikr al-Hakim.